Hey guys! You've probably heard stories about people that live in a small town and how bored they often are, especially as teenagers. Well, at the risk of sounding like an old man, when I was their age, I didn't even live in a town. I lived in a trailer in the hills. Our nearest neighbor was a half-mile down the road. Let me tell you what real boredom is. When I got my first car, or rather a hand-me-down pickup truck, our great thrill was driving it around all the winding roads up the hill, counting possums we saw on the side of the road. Compared to us, small-town kids had it good. There was only one time that I could think of where something interesting happened. And let me tell you, it's not something you ever wanted to see. My best friend Larry had a little brother named Brody. When Brody turned 13, Larry decided it was time to let the little kid drive. Of course, Larry didn't have a car. None of our friends did, except me. So that evening, 4 or 5 of us piled into that beat-up pickup truck. Me, Larry, and Brody sat up front, and we headed out into the night, drinking and trusting our lives to a terrified 13-year-old kid that didn't really know how to drive in the first place. And now he's driving us down some winding roads in the country. Sometimes I wondered how the heck we even survived into adulthood. Us older kids, we were drinking and having little Brody drive us around, whether he liked it or not. The boys in the back had taken to shooting the occasional mailbox with a BB gun, and we found ourselves at a dead end. It was time to teach Brody how to do a 3-point turn. Only on the road, there wasn't a place to do it. I knew he passed a drive a little way back, so the first lesson for Brody was how to drive in reverse. He had to do this for half a mile backwards without shooting us off the hill. The kids in the back were shouting and cheering at Brody for landing us on what had to be the only dead-end road in the hills. The poor kid's face was beet red. I'm not even sure Brody agreed to any of this, but there's nothing we can do about it now anyway. Slowly, he backed the truck down the hill about a half a mile. When the driveway showed up on our right, it was a long driveway that led up to a very big house. Abandoned from the look of it. It had to have been worth something at some point, because there was a gate at the end of it to keep people out. Unfortunately, it was also keeping us from having room to turn around. Might need to back up and find another drive, Larry said. I heard a loud clack and a pinging sound of someone in the back shooting their BB gun on the gate behind us. No, Brody hissed. I'm not backing up anymore. Either open up the gate or one of you drive. His face was burning and his jaw was clenched. Apparently driving around a bunch of drunken teenage boys while they treated you like a chauffeur, while telling you how happy you should be for their teaching you how to drive. Wasn't as much fun for him as it was for us. Well, we couldn't have our driver giving up on us, so we hopped out and opened the gate. When I say gate, I don't mean one of those pretty gates. I mean one of those wrought iron gates with the no trespassing sign on it. But from the look of that house, no one was going to mind a little trespassing right now. The gate was locked with a padlock, but one good thing about a pickup truck is they're good at hauling tools. One of the boys handed me a bolt cutter, and I made quick work of the lock. The gate swung open, and I began directing Brody on how to turn around. He backed up to the point of being able to turn around in the drive. The headlights illuminated the front yard of the house. The boards of the house were old and rotten. There was junk all in the yard, and I figured my estimation of the house's value was way off. I couldn't really see much of what was in the front yard, except silhouettes and shadows, all illuminated by the headlights. "Ha, look at that," shouted Boyd, the one currently holding the BB gun in the back of the truck. "I bet I can hit that from here." I turned to see a figure in the yard, lit by the headlights as Brody pulled into the drive. It was tall and skinny, with arms that stuck out straight at its sides. It was some sort of scarecrow. I don't know if it was part of the garden that had grown over, or if it was just some sort of decoration. It's standing there in the dark with only the headlights shining on it. It was kind of terrifying. It was a terrifying thing. Someone in the back of the truck found a flashlight and turned it on and aimed it at the scarecrow, making the shadow of the scarecrow jump and loom on the front of the house. I turned back from the scarecrow to see Boyd in the back of the pickup truck, pointing the BB gun at the scarecrow. "Don't shoot it," I said uncomfortably. "I know I can hit it from here," Boyd said. I don't know why I cared. Nobody in this abandoned house is going to give a crap about us shooting a scarecrow with our BB gun. It just made me nervous for some reason. "What, you think he'll be mad?" Boyd jeered. I glanced over my shoulder at the scarecrow, but said nothing. I signaled Brody to stop. "Now turn the wheel the other way and start backing out." Just then, there was a loud crack from the BB gun. It startled Brody and he hit the gas too hard. So turned the wheel too far and the truck twisted and slammed into the pipe on which the gate was hinged. "Dang it, Boyd," I shouted, running to the other side of the truck to see if it was damaged. It was an old rusty piece of junk, but it was still my truck. My first truck, and I didn't want to see it all banged up, any worse than it already was. The angle and speed of the truck somehow got the pipe wedged up under the tire, and I was directing Brody and trying to crack this when I heard another crack, which told me that Larry was still shooting at the scarecrow. "Knock it off," I shouted as Boyd pumped up for another shot. Another crack and laughter from the peanut gallery was all I got. I glanced over my shoulder again at the scarecrow. The way the lights were angled over the house made the shadow of the scarecrow even larger and more grotesque. "Make yourself useful and help me unstick the truck," I said, indicating all of the guys in the back. A few jumped out to help, but Boyd wasn't giving up his scarecrow vendetta. Larry had switched seats with Brody. I couldn't tell if the kid was happier now or not. He just sat in the cab with his arms crossed, looking down at his lap. I shooted instructions at the guys and Larry as we worked the truck loose. All the while, Boyd is shooting up the scarecrow and other various items in the yard. He was whooping and cheering himself on. One of the others must have stayed in the truck with him, because suddenly I was blinded by a flashlight. Swearing, I turned away from the truck and the lights, seeking the darkness of the yard while I blinked my vision back in order. As my vision cleared, I stumbled back into the hood of the truck. The flashlight scanned over the yard, and for the first time I could see what the shadows were. It wasn't junk, and it wasn't lawn decorations. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. They were scarecrows, dozens of them, different sizes and wearing different clothes. They were old and worn from being outside, but the clothes were still recognizable as being outfits. Not just random stuff thrown together, but actual outfits. There were female scarecrows, male scarecrows, some in dresses and some in suits. The creepiest, however, were the children, tiny scarecrows in sundresses and some in overalls. They seemed to be depicting the scene of a party, and their faces drawn on burlap sacks. There was total silence as we all stared at this crazy scene. Crack. Boyd shot one of the scarecrows right between the eyes. I snapped my head back around to look at the drunken idiot who's laughing. "You should see your face," I started yelling at Boyd. I don't even know what I said, but I wasn't the only one yelling. Everyone was mad. The flashlight holder flicked off the light and smacked Boyd in the shoulder with it. Larry hit the gas, and with the help of the other guys, we finally got the truck off the pipe. As the guys were piling into the back of the truck, I turned to look at the scarecrows one last time. When I saw a light shining from the front door of the house, there was a silhouette there, with its arms stretched out to the sides like a scarecrow. I just bolted for the cab. I got in and closed the door when Larry, who had seen what I saw, gunned it, spitting gravel as we backed out, turned, and got the heck out of there. I don't know what was going on at that place. I don't even know where it was because we never found it again. Not that we tried. I mean, seriously, would you? I hope you guys like this story. Bye, have a nice night.